What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. Don't forget to check out my website, ckwraps.com. I'll put a link in the description below for you. Now today I'm doing a chrome trim delete on a Tesla Model 3. This is part 4 of the series. We're doing it in gloss black. As you can see, the pillar's done, quarter window's done, and both door handles are done. Now I'll revert back to video 1, or part 1, to see what products exactly that you're going to need for this. I do talk about everything there within the first minute or so, and a link to all the products that I'm using today in the description below. When it comes to doing these two window trims, it's actually pretty straightforward. These are probably one of the easier parts of it all. It isn't even all that hard to do as far as doing the window trim goes and the door handles. It gets a lot more tricky around the mirror. The mirror is the hard one. This little guy here is not that bad, but it's a little bit tricky as well. That's that side indicator there. But the mirror is the hard part, okay? We're gonna get onto that in a whole other video. What I wanna do here is I wanna loosen this chrome trim so that I'm able to slide it back slightly. Being able to slide the chrome trim back slightly is beneficial because I'll be able to get it tucked in really nicely where the mirror is. So if we open the door a little bit, we can actually get our hands sort of behind an end here. Now keep in mind, we don't want to bend this trim. We could bend it and then it's going to cost us some money. So we want to twist it sort of backwards. And if we twist it backwards, like this, it'll unhook from the inner edge. It's a little bit tricky, it's a little bit tedious to do. I like to do it more from the back end here. The window is in there, so it's kind of in the way, but it does allow you to sort of do it from this end if you just take your time, okay? And I just pull up very gently and I wiggle it. So as we start getting it up higher and higher, we're going to be able to lift it off. You're going to see why in a second, why you want to do this. I'm just going to get my fingers in there. It's very tight, okay? But patience is important. Just like you have patience when you're wrapping, patience when you're doing this kind of stuff is very important. You know, if I dent it or bend it, I pay the price. I get a new one. Again, this is a good forearm workout. It's coming. There we go. I can feel it coming off the inner edge. Perfect. So we should start seeing it releasing. There we go. There we go. A lot of chrome trim, a lot of trims on cars come off this way, the lower ones, the window ones. You want to go slow because if you go too quickly, you're going to end up bending it. You don't want that. When you bend chrome trim, if you bend this, you're going to put a kink in it and it's done. You're not going to be able to get that back to normal. So that's when you're going to be stuck buying a new one. Okay, so I think we're pretty much all the way off. Perfect. So now I'll be able to wrap out nicely around this very end right here where the mirror was. So what I can do is position this back all the way back here to show you. Leave a little bit more space on the bottom and not quite snap it down all the way. Just have it so it's snug. We're not going to be pulling on the film all that hard. So it's going to be a little bit easier when we go to do this. Again, I'm still going to mask on the bottom. Don't really need to, but I'm going to do it anyways out of good practice. We should always. That one there I won't really need to do it on, so it's not that big of a deal. It's just mainly to get around the mirror area and get that area right there really nicely. I'm also going to leave this off for doing the mirror area because I'm going to take the mirror off and do that whole piece separately. Okay, let's wipe our fingerprints off of this. I just made a mess. Again, 70% isopropyl alcohol. Forearms are burning a little bit after that, but that's just how it goes. Now leaving these guys, this is a brand new car. This thing has like 40 miles on it. When these guys do the pre-delivery or they take off the tapes and stuff like that that cover the chrome trims, it leaves all kinds of adhesive behind, so I've been stuck kind of cleaning a lot of that off. All right, trick here. If we want to wrap this corner, this end here in one piece and follow all the way through, I'm going to start down at this end. So I'm just going to anchor it right there. And I'm going to take the film and just pull it tightly across. Just a little bit. And just mainly at that area right there. Now I'm going to anchor it. And before doing anything else, I'm going to keep going all the way through. This way we don't get any crazy glue lines or anything like that. I want to make sure I've got coverage here. I've got to come down a little bit lower. So it's better to just lift off the whole piece again and come down. Then we won't get a glue line. And let's get this whole thing done right here. Done. Again, you could be using a glove. It would help a little bit as far as gliding across this right now goes. I'm going to make sure we're nice and tight up top here. It's looking good. Let's do the bottom. So because I basically started from the harder part and worked my way around this area here. So there's actually no tension on this end right here. This should never fail, ever. And it shouldn't ever fail through here because I have no tension here. All the tension is right through about a ½ inch, and then I've kind of dissipated the tension working my way across, as there's no tension almost the rest of the way through. This vinyl is never going to contract and pull all the way down, and this is going to bunch up. It's not possible. The vinyl doesn't have the strength to do that. Okay, this is basically wrapped. We're going to make sure we're slightly around our bottom edge here. So again, we're going to double check all that. This is what the tape's good for. I'm going to cut off the excess that I have right down here. Don't need it anymore. Let's get that out of the way. Now let's finish up this bit on the end. Excelente. All right. All the way underneath, right? This piece, pretty easy to trim off. It's the top one that's a bit harder to do, a bit trickier. All right, so I'm going to start right in here. Get that out of there. We can leave a little excess. We can always tuck it around. And then here, we're going to come in from the bottom. There's a nice little gap. I'm just going to push through and find it. There it is. Done. And then we're going to go all the way down now. Nice gap in there. See my body positioning? I crouch down, puts me in a comfortable place. I can see where my blade is. Everything's gliding really nicely. You know, no resistance, very sharp blade. Again, having a very sharp blade helps a lot. A dull blade is an unsafe blade. I just want to make sure. I kind of lost my train of thought here. There we go. Excellent. Come across the bottom there. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of all this. We're going to go over that still with our finger. Make sure we're pressing it all down afterwards. Let's trim off the back edge here. Perfect. Top edge. Now, this is the tricky part. We want to make sure that we've got our coverage and that we're not overlapping the window trim too much, or sorry, the rubber trim too much. So I just push the film into the area where it needs to go, and it goes slightly around the back side. So I'm pulling off the trim, pushing back, pulling off that rubber, pushing back, and so on. Pulling off the rubber and pushing back all the way down. time, making sure all that is good, and then I'm ready to cut. So again, I'm going to start here, just because it's easier. Perfect. And then I'm going to work my way back. Again, there's a nice little gap there. And you can see I'm gliding really nicely, right? Finito. All right, this part's done. I'm going to go over the edges, make sure everything's nicely tucked away. I like to use the buffer side for this, makes it a little bit nicer. That looks good. Let's go over this side now. There's a tight little seal down here, so I'm just going to get the film pushed into there until I get to about here. Then it becomes easier. There we go. Finished. Now I'm just going to take, since I'm not actually going to put this piece back on, I'm going to take it off and show you what it looks like. Okay, so on our end, this is the part where it meets the mirror. This is what it looks like. It's just very raw looking, very whatever. You know, we're covered all the way through. We're covered through all the way on the bottom. Nothing's going to show at all. It's not possible, especially when the trim goes back on. It's not going to show. Same thing on the top. Nothing's going to show at all. We're nice and clean all the way through. And let's just check out this end right here. Right there. It's wet. Oh, this must be water dripping out of it still. Yep, so nice and clean all the way through, right? Perfect. That's all you need to do, guys. I'm going to put this on the table. Now the next piece, it's again, we have a double cap on this one. This piece, we're going to have to start at one end, work our way to the other, and then pre-stretch and then shrink it down around the other end. A little bit more tricky, this one, but because the other one has that flat, very raw edge where it meets the mirror, this one doesn't. So again, if you're really struggling with this, you can cap them and use seams. I do these in one piece. Just because I do it in one piece doesn't mean that you have to, even though you may want to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the door open slightly. Let's give that another wipe off here. I don't want anything kicking around on it. I'm going to start at this end and work my way to that end. It's, for me, just what appears to be easier. This one I don't even need to loosen because I don't need to pull it away from the mirror. So I'm not really concerned about this piece at all as far as having it loosened. It's still pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Again, masking is the trick here. The masking tape is going to allow the film to slide off so you can tuck in a little bit further. I'm actually going to start at this end over here and work my way to this end. The reason why I want to start at this end is because the angle of this actually tapers down and in. It goes a little bit past 90, while this one sort of is a bit more flush, if not sticking out a little bit more. So it's going to be easier to land on that end over there afterwards. So again, we've got our piece cut. I might as well just trim it down right now. Just get off that extra couple of inches. Let's do it. Saw a little dust there, got it off. So again, I'm going to tack it down on the very back side here. And then we're going to take this bit, heat it, and pull it across. Don't need a lot of heat, just something to soften the film up. And then come all the way through. I want to make sure I'm always looking and seeing where I'm placing the film. This way I don't miss anything. As we get to the end, right over here, again let's get this door out of the way. I need to stretch it out and over the corners. In order to pull down and around the inside of that piece inside here. Because if we're just stretching it around that piece on the inside here, it's going to want to just pull off. So I'm always pulling across the edge. That's the goal. All right, this is pretty much wrapped. We're going to finish up the details. I'm just going to slap my glove on. It's going to be a little bit easier for the time being. See with the tape there, it's just so much easier to lift the film off. Don't skip that step, guys. You know, save yourself the headache and just do it. For, you know, a $5 roll of tape, which will last you quite a few cars, it's well worth it. Excellent, so I'm just going to double check everything. We're about to get ready for that cut stage. Don't need the glove anymore. We're going to get all this tucked in, pre-tucked in a little bit. You can just see it go in slightly more. Cool. You can push it all down. Make sure it's not in our way. This way we can see where our cut's going to go. So again, over here, I'm just going to start in here, work my way out. Come around this edge slightly. There we go. I could probably angle the door a bit more would be helpful. There we go. Putting it more closed. Perfect. Just trying to find that sweet spot. There we go. Perfect. Again, let's cut across that bottom section. Let's get this all out of the way. There's that beautiful spot where the blade glides. Make sure that's not stuck. There we go. Get this area done over here. That piece is out. All right, now for the top one all over again. let's get it. Now the windows are in the way with this one, okay? So keep that in mind. This window doesn't roll all the way down. Maybe there's a way to do it, I don't know, but it's not rolled all the way down. Again, we're gonna get it, I'm pulling it off of the rubber trim right now, and I'm gonna get it slightly pre-tucked here. Getting it off the rubber trim is important to get the film to be tension free, basically. You don't want to be pushing while the film is stuck to the rubber trim because it's going to be adding tension to the area. You don't want to push too hard with your tuck tool either, because that will possibly cut through the film prematurely. So if you're dragging it, keep in mind you could end up cutting through the film prematurely. Perfect. At this point I'm around, so even if I did cut through the film, I wouldn't be that worried about it. We're just going to smooth out the edge. Ready to cut. And there's going to be that sweet spot right there. That part's done. Easy. Let's get it all cleaned up. I'll take that tape off, and that'll be that for this piece. You can see how you don't really need a lot of heat for certain applications, right? It's not always necessary to be using and showering the film with a lot of heat. The heat is used to stretch it, but we don't really need to stretch the film that much. We don't need to add a lot of heat to it. Awesome. That part's done. It just looked a little inconsistent down here, it just caught my eye. So make sure that we're good and tucked in. It's a little bit tighter over here. This is the end that gets tighter. So let's get their tuck tool out. Beauty. Let's get this done. Beauty. And that's both lower window trims, guys. So part 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Tesla Model 3 chrome trim deletes. I've got 5 and 6 to do still, the next one being the indicator, and then the mirror is the fun one. Stay tuned for some more videos, guys. I hope this video was informative and helpful for you. If it was, don't forget to give it a like. Again, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.